I'm Gary Bembridge. This is another of my tips for travelers. I'm going to give you 6 simple but sure ways that you can ensure that an Alaska cruise is absolutely phenomenal. First of all, pick the absolute best time to go. The Alaska season runs between May and September. My personal favorite month to go is May. And the reason for that is it's the beginning of the season. Things are starting up quite slowly. The towns aren't overrun. Prices are generally cheaper than the peak season, which is really June, July. And also you're less likely to have lots of rain. The peak season when most people like to go is June and July. This is when you're going to see more wildlife because the salmon run has started, the bears start coming out. However, you are likely to have much more rain. As you head into August and September, the days start to get a little bit shorter, gets a little bit cooler, and again, you have the chance of lots of rain. The highest prices are in June and July, so bear that in mind when you plan. My absolute key watch out though, as you do pick the best time, is in Alaska the weather is very changeable. You can't guarantee you're going to have great weather. However, once you're in Alaska, it is absolutely phenomenal, and don't let the weather get in your way of an incredible cruise. My second tip as you plan your cruise in 2021 or 2022 is decide what is the best itinerary for you. There are 2 key Alaska cruise itineraries. One of the most popular ones is the Inside Passage, and this is actually the one I would recommend if you're heading to Alaska for the very first time. The Inside Passage is basically a narrow strip of water which is very well protected by islands on the one side, mainland on the other, so it also tends to be great smooth sailing. These tend to be 7-night itineraries. You can head out of places like Vancouver or even Seattle. You normally have 1 sea day at the beginning and at the end, and then you'll visit some of the key places. You will normally go to Juneau, which is the capital of Alaska. This town really exploded during the whole gold rush. One of the interesting things about Juneau is there's no actual road access into Juneau. It has a population of around 30,000, which makes it the 3rd biggest city in Alaska. The second place you like to go to is Skagway, which is actually one of my favorite places to go. Skagway is also the turnaround point if you are on an Inside Passage cruise. Skagway developed when the gold was found in the Klondike, and 35,000 prospectors headed through Skagway, heading up to the Klondike gold fields. Most of them didn't actually find fame or fortunes, and Skagway became renowned for its pubs, its craziness, its scams, and its slightly sleazy side. One of the best parts about Skagway is the White Pass and Yukon Railway was built here, and this is one of the best excursions and things you can do when you're in Alaska. The third key place on an Inside Passage cruise is Ketchikan. Ketchikan is built on an old native fishing village area, and it used to be the salmon canning center of Alaska. And it also used to be a key logging town. The other thing you'll do is you will spend time looking at the scenery and visiting glaciers. So some of the cruises will go into Glacier Bay. However, not all cruise ships go in there. It's a national park and they control how many cruise ships go in there. Glacier Bay is phenomenal. I would actually recommend, if you're looking for a cruise to Alaska into the Inside Passage, make sure that you're going on one that includes Glacier Bay. If not, you're likely to go to other glaciers such as Tracy Arm, for example. The other Alaska itinerary which you may want to consider, particularly if you're going back to Alaska for a second time, is the Gulf of Alaska cruises. These tend to be 7-night cruises, but they head in one way. So you might start in Seattle, you might start in Vancouver, and it normally heads up to Anchorage, or you could do it the other way round. They'll tend to spend time in the Inside Passage, but it will also take you to see some of the most phenomenal and impressive glaciers of all, which is why a lot of people choose this cruise. The glaciers that you get to see on this itinerary could include the Valdez, the Hubbard Glacier, and College Fjord. So what are the watch outs or things as you plan these? Well, first of all, Alaska is phenomenally popular. So whenever you go, it's going to be busy. So expect to have lots of ships in all of these places, and it's going to be really crowded. If you're going on the Gulf of Alaska cruise, you do spend much more time out at sea, and it can be relatively rough, so seasickness is more of a challenge if you're going on that particular itinerary. The third key tip that I have is, first of all, budget for excursions. There's some phenomenal things to do, but they can be fairly pricey. Plan ahead and really think about what you're going to do. As you've seen from the itineraries, you don't have a lot of time on land, so you maybe only have 3 places that you're going to be on land. So really think really carefully about what you want to do. There are probably 4 key activities that I would recommend you think about for your Alaska cruise. First of all, which a lot of people do, is visit glaciers. So at various ports, you can actually get the chance to go either on land, to go and stand on, walk on, or just view glaciers. Or you can even do some helicopter trips where you can fly up onto a glacier and do things like dog husking excursions, which are really phenomenal right up on the glacier. The second key activity, which is also very popular, and you probably want to include one of these, particularly depending on the time of the year, is whale watching. Heading out on boats to go and look at whales is one of the most popular things to do on an Alaska cruise. The third thing to do is cultural immersion. So this tends not to be in all the places you go to, but there will be some cultural immersion options, particularly looking at some of the native inhabitants of the region where you can go and understand much more of the culture and their history. Then you'll find a whole bunch of activity type excursions, so things like zip lining, kayaking, those kinds of activities. Then of course, which I haven't actually included, but you do find some excursions around this area, is eating and drinking. You'll find lots of those options as well, particularly related to salmon. Let me give you my specific tips for the must-do things in some of those places. So let's start first of all with Juneau. In Juneau, there are 3 fantastic things to do, and you probably in your time in Juneau can do at least 2 of them. First of all, glaciers. The nearest and biggest glacier to Juneau is the Mendenhall Glacier. There's various different excursions you can do here at various different prices, but I would strongly recommend building some sort of glacier experience when you're in Juneau. The second great thing to do is head up on the Mount Roberts Tramway. So you can do this either before or after your excursion. Takes you right up to the top of the mountain. You get phenomenal views right down through the sort of fjords, over across the ships. It's really quite remarkable. The other thing, which is a bit of an institution to include on your time in Juneau, is to go to the Red Dog Saloon. It's actually been rebuilt from its originals, but it's kind of a thing that people do. When you're in Ketchikan, there are again 3 great things that you can do, and you can probably do all of these in one of the particular days. So a lot of people will still head off and do their glaciers or whale watching, but things I recommend, which again is one of the institutions, is the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show. This is really good fun. They have multiple activities during the day, and you get to see lumberjacks doing all sorts of competitions and challenges, and it's really, really good fun. Absolutely strongly recommend it. The other thing you can do is you can get a trolley bus out to the Totem Bright Steak Park, which is packed full of the most remarkable totem poles and a really great gift shop. Another thing that I really like to do when I'm in Ketchikan is go and explore the old part of town. So this is known as Creek Street, and Creek Street is built over the water, and it's where there used to be the very dodgy pubs, brothels, ladies of the night, and all sorts of shenanigans used to go on here. There's really great stories, and it really is good fun. Ketchikan, vibrant, lots going on, lots of shopping as well. When you're in Skagway, for me, there is one absolute must do, and this is to head up on the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad. It was built in 1898 during the gold rush era. It climbs from sea level to almost 3,000 feet high. You can go past waterfalls, mountains, glaciers. It really is just quite remarkable. The key watch out I have about excursions is, bear in mind, as I've said, Alaska gets really busy. So I would plan excursions ahead. I would book those excursions ahead. And you do need to budget for them because these can be quite hefty in price. So for example, if you go on one of the dog sledding activities, this could cost you up to $600 or more per person if it includes a helicopter. Seaplane rides over glaciers could be over $200. Whale watching could cost you over $150. The Yukon Railway can cost from $150 up to $300 per person. So as you can see, some of these excursions can be quite hefty, but if you're heading to Alaska, it's a phenomenal experience, and I would strongly recommend you build into your budget doing some of these big, fantastic excursions. The next tip I have is around who you should actually go with. There are 2 cruise lines that have enormous experience in Alaska. The first of those is Holland America. They have actually been operating in Alaska for the longest, and that's because they bought a company which was formed in 1947, Wes Tours, which was sold to Holland America. So they've been in Alaska for over 70 years and have huge amounts of experience, and they also do own some actual lodges on land as well, so they can do a land and cruise package. Princess Cruises really is probably one of the biggest players in Alaska, and Princess Cruises have been there for almost 50 years. operating in the area, and they own buses, they own railway lines, they own lodges, and they really do build together really big land and cruise packages. So those are definitely two to look at. Many of their ships will also get the right to go into Glacier Bay because they've been there for so long, and that's what I like about the whole itinerary as well. You can go on pretty much every single cruise line, so you'll find lots of sort of mid-sized cruise lines go from Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, you'll find even occasionally Cunard will do an Alaska season, and then you can go right down to very small cruise lines like Uncruise, for example, which has fewer than 250 passengers. There's a really big wide range, so make sure you choose a cruise line where you can have the type of passengers and also the experience that you like or don't like. So if you like the big dressing up experience, you've got Cunard. If you like more informal, you've got something like Norwegian Cruise Lines. My fifth tip is again around budgeting. One of the things I would strongly recommend, if you possibly can stretch to it, is look at getting a balcony cabin when you go on an Alaska cruise. The scenery is really phenomenal, and particularly when you have that day of scenic cruising around the various glaciers, etc. Having a balcony cabin is really, really special. A lot of people are asking you which side of the ship they should be on. I think it only really makes a huge big difference if you're actually heading on the Gulf of Alaska cruises. So if you're heading northwards, I would actually have a balcony on the starboard side, I would on the right hand side, because the land is on that side as you head up. If you're heading southwards down, I would actually have it on the port side on the left hand side, because that's where the land is. The next thing to consider is budgeting. As I've mentioned, there are a couple of things you might want to do which you wouldn't normally do on a cruise, like a balcony cabin, spending a lot of money on excursions. So budgeting is really important. So what you want to do is make sure that you get a really good fare. There's a lot of choice of cruise lines, so certainly take a look at a lot of cruise lines. I'd recommend you perhaps even use aggregator sites where you can compare for the time you want to go the range of cruises. Also, very importantly, once you've booked your fare, do track pricing. I think particularly in 2021 and 2022, I think we're going to see lots of volatility in prices. So once you've even booked, keep an eye on prices to see if the prices are going down. You can either get your fare reduced or you can get extra benefits, onboard credit or upgrades. Simple ways of doing that, there's sites like cruisewatch.com or even on Cruise Critic. They have a price watch option where you can put in your cruise and they will send you alerts if prices change. These simple but absolutely sure tips should make your Alaska cruise in 2021, 2022 absolutely phenomenal. I have many other videos actually about Alaska, about cruising, so why don't you watch another one of those right now?